something blossom in this city. And can you imagine if all of us came together around issues that impacted us? The power that we will have, not just in this city, but in our communities. That's what we're trying to do. And that's what the Columbus African Council is all about. It's about breaking down the silos that exist amongst all of us so that we can really do some things together, collectively, that move us forward. So tonight is a very powerful conversation that needs no introduction. We're talking about Black wealth. Let's go back to Juneteenth, Emancipation Day, 1865. It was supposed to be a start of a new era for Black wealth creation. After 12 generations of being subject to slavery, institutionalized theft, 4 million African Americans who were now free, they had the opportunity to earn income, have degrees, hold property, and weather the hard times like any other family to pass down wealth to the next generation. Generations later, unfortunately, we are seeing the racial wealth gap continue to climb. The typical Black family makes, check this, 1/10 of the wealth of the typical white family. In 1863, Black Americans owned 0.5% of the national wealth. Today, 2019, it's just over 1.5%. I'm gonna say that again, 1.5% of the national wealth is owned by us today. And the cause of that stagnation, it goes back to slavery, the evolving indentured servitude under Jim Crow, the continuing of segregated housing, redlining, schools, the seizure of properties. It goes on and on and on. And ultimately what we are seeing is people in power creating new bundles of discrimination that thwarted again and again the economic promise that should be afforded to all of us. The impact has been devastating. Check this. The Institute of Policy Studies states that the median Black family owns just $3,600, just 2% of the $147,000 wealth in the median white family owns. The same report argues that the median Black wealth of Black Americans will fall to zero by 2053 if the current trend continues. This is our reality. And we have to have these conversations to figure out, where do we go from here? Is it too late? If it's not, what can we do about it? And that's why we have these amazing 6 panelists before you today. Let's give them a round of applause before I introduce them. I am not an expert in this space. I am going to learn something tonight with all of us. And it's a beautiful opportunity that we have elected leaders, business owners, individuals who formulate policy, real estate developers, real estate owners, and individuals who help get homes for families, to have them on a panel to talk about how they're helping to create the solutions to really tackle this issue. And so, without further ado, I want to introduce our Franklin County Treasurer, Cheryl Brooks Sullivan. Let's give her a round of applause, you can. We have Brittany Eddy. She's a realtor extraordinaire in the city doing some amazing things. Give her a round of applause. We have Alfred Wilson. He's the financial wellness expert. He'll go talk about his Frugal Freddy movement that he's doing. Just give him a round of applause. We have J. Avery Frost. She's the executive director of the Columbus, Ohio African American Chamber of Commerce. I'm gonna say something real quick before you give her applause. If you are a business owner in this room and you are not a part of the business Rolodex that can help connect us to people like us so we can buy Black, you need to make sure that you see her today. Let's give her a round of applause. We have Brandy B. Avery. She's the CEO of the Financial Power Network and co-founder of Keys to Black Wealth. And last but not least, we have David DeBerry. He's a business owner and also a co-founder of the Keys to Black Wealth. Let's give him a round of applause. So there are some seats for folks that are in the back. Don't be shy, you can come up. There's some seats in the front. We want to make sure that every person has an opportunity to sit down. And we're going to try to see if we can get some more chairs. But without further ado, I think the first question, and by the way, these questions are formulated by you. You know, we push out all the questions that we have tonight are questions we ask all of you to submit to us. And so, to be quite frank, this is your conversation, because these questions are born out of the things you want to learn about. And so I'm hopeful and excited about these. Some hard questions, y'all. I'm telling y'all. Somebody put your life into these questions. So I'm really excited about this. And so the first question that I want to ask, and anyone can take this one. The questions moving further are going to be more directed towards certain panelists. What is the state of Black wealth to you? And what do you believe is one thing that is keeping us from reaching forward towards prosperity? What's the one thing? Anyone can take that.
So I will start with, to answer your question, right? You said, what is the state of Black wealth to me? I think state of Black wealth is a lot more than a number. I think because a lot of times we're thinking monetary. We got to start with our mindset flat out. And where we're at with that, I think I'm hopeful in the sense that, look at this room. We are having these conversations, we're having these dialogues, but we got to get to the heart of legislation and some policy changes. And so that's kind of where the state of Black wealth really is at this point. But I think it starts with mindset. Absolutely has to start with mindset.
I'll just echo that point. I'm all about mentality, and as Brittany said, it definitely starts with the mindset first. If you can't think it, you won't know how to do it. And as far as the point of Black wealth, you see all these people here, we're all concerned about Black wealth. And we can attain wealth in so many ways, if it's real estate, stock investing, or even just the education that you pass down to future generations. That's one thing that me and my wife are trying to do with our daughter, is pass that wealth of knowledge going forward so she can make the impact once we're dead and gone.
Can you hear me?
No?
Testing.
Okay, so I am Brandy Avery, and hope you can hear me. Good, it sounds like it's working out. So I think the state of Black wealth, I think it's definitely a combination between mindset, but I also think the numbers are important as well. At the end of the day, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And when we're talking about financial progress and economic development and moving forward as a community, as a state, we have to change our mindset, but we also got to change our bank accounts as well. I'm going to be very candid. I always feel like money is not the most important thing, but it's up there with oxygen. The best things in life are free, but my happiness has never paid my rent. So, when we think about the state of Black wealth and we think about it from that standpoint, we do have to change our mindset, but we got to get our bank accounts right as well. Let's just keep it real. And the one thing that I think that we can do to move forward and have forward progress as a community is, number one, coming to events like this where we can get the education, but the most important thing about this is applied knowledge. Because if you're sitting here and you hear some gems, you have the resources available to you, but you don't go and activate those resources, then we've taken one step forward and one step back. So we haven't gone anywhere. And I think oftentimes as a community, we have all of these resources, we have all of this knowledge, we have all of these things that's readily available to us, but we're not applying any action to it. And I think that's a huge issue in our community, wealth and health, and a lot of other areas as well. We have to have applied knowledge. And to get there, to make that step, is we have to do it ourselves. No one's coming to save us. Newsflash, they're not coming to save us. I talk about this all the time, and I get really passionate about the industry because oftentimes we're waiting on policy and legislation, which is great and everything, but we have tools and resources that we can activate right now today and accumulate wealth in this room right now. Like, there's millions of dollars in this room right now, and I'm looking at it and I'm seeing it, and I'm saying, let's get together and activate. So that's what I think that we should do as a community, is activate some of this knowledge so that we can actually have forward progress, and that forward progress does include our dollars and our bank accounts.
Anyone else to that question? All right, moving on. Matt. All right, testing? Okay, here we go. So these are, again, your questions. So I'm sorry if some of them have narratives. So, and this is a question just to kind of get to what V was saying about how do we build some solutions. This person said the racial wealth gap was created over a long period of time, dating back to slavery and continuing in different forms to this day. In your opinion, what type of large-scale transformations do you believe could help us get closer to equity and racial justice?
Avery Frost with the African American Chamber of Commerce, and so that's a heavy question, and I'm kind of of two minds. Number one, a large-scale transformation can only happen with the stuff that they just said, right? With mindset changes, etc. But I'm also on we can't just let these policies stay in place that are systematic barriers, like we were just emailing about today. That there's an institution here in Columbus that's keeping our caterers off of their list, not maliciously, but because they've got all these crazy stipulations and requirements on it, so you can't do business with them. And so the chamber, or the African American Chamber of Commerce, we're one of your resources in that regard. We need to be made aware of these specific barriers because they're not just affecting you, they're affecting 25 plus businesses all throughout our many thousands of businesses all around the city. So we have to, not only do you have to do your hard work and be prepared and capable and ready for when the opportunity arises, but you also have to let us know, like people like me, so you don't have to put your business on the front. Like you don't have to be like, oh, I'm mad at you because you're not, no. Let the chamber come on your behalf and let us speak about and make some policy changes while you keep doing the hard work that you're doing. But I feel like it's both and that part and that part and that part as far as the large scale transformations. I don't know that there's one fix.
To kind of echo that, I understand that we all want to do things large, but small groups work too. If 2 people do this, 3 people do this over here, we're making impactful change as we progress. So I know we always want to do the large scale, but sometimes small is better, you know what I mean? And you can be more impactful in small groups.
I would also say we have to think about, I just think about in terms of, the white American that has Brandy mentioned something in terms of the wealth that she sees out in the room just looking out. This is considered private sectors, right? So, they have folks that they can go to right now, host an event, and ask for that money right then and there. People are putting their dollars where they say they want them to be. So, I think we need to think about, having our own private sectors that we can run to and for funding and things of that nature. So we're not needing to try to comply with bank policies that may not be in our favor in the first place.
Go ahead.
David DeBerry with DeBerry Enterprise. I think we got to get past survival mode. I talk to so many people that say I'm good, and I'm like, but what about the next person? What about the next person? And if we don't get past survival mode, then we will never get to where we're living abundant living and where we're helping other people. And it's funny because a business owner who makes a lot of money talked to me. He's a Caucasian, and he said, you really can't start living life or start worrying about people outside of your family until you're making $50,000. I was like, 50,000 a year? No, 50,000 a month. And I was like, it kind of blew my mind. It kind of blew my mind. I didn't even think that way. And then I heard somebody else had asked me, like if we're asking somebody, how long does it take to get from here to Cincinnati? Anybody got any answers? 2 hours. And that's all because we're thinking about in a car. But if I ask a billionaire that question, what are they going to say? How long does it take? 15 minutes because they're thinking about what? They're thinking about that jet that they're riding in, right? And so if you ask a homeless person how long does it take, what they going to say? They ain't thinking a day because they think about walking. So we need to think about, you can't change people, you can only change their perspective. And we need to stop trying to change people and start changing perspectives and get past living in survival mode and get into abundance.
Good evening, everybody. I'm So all I can speak about in terms of large scale is what's going on in our office. And I've been a real estate agent since 1979, so I've seen the front end of one of the opportunities to enter wealth, which is homeownership. We'll talk about that later. That's not necessarily a doorway to wealth, but it is one of the options that some people utilize. So now I'm on the back end of that as the Franklin County Treasurer. What I see there are the people who lose their homes. 30% of the people who lose their homes to foreclosure lose them just for their tax debt. They no longer own a mortgage, they paid the home off. 30% of the population that loses their home is just because they owe back taxes in the United States of America. So it's more than a mindset, it's more than action, you have to actually literally plan. What we're doing is we're trying to get in front of my administration. I've met with Dr. Derek Hamilton and some other people, the Kirwan Institute, the Glenn Institute. We're trying to get in front of the foreclosures. You're not asking us for help. And not just you specifically, but the people losing their homes, they're not coming to us and asking us for help. So we have to figure out what's going on, what's going wrong, and attempt to put the resource in front of them to at least help them retain their home. We generally don't take that assertive position in defense of our own situations. I'm willing to do that. Everybody's not going to be willing to do that. When I look at the people losing their homes, they're in the clover leaf. It's north going northeast, west, and southeast. It's our communities. It's the hardest hit, marginalized communities that are losing their homes for a tax debt, sometimes $3,000 or less. You shouldn't lose your home for $3,000 or less. So we're trying to get information on our taxpayers. We don't really know you. We have your address, we have your name. We know if you're male or female. I don't know if you're employed, unemployed, healthy, widowed, recently separated from a job. I don't know what the resource is that it's going to take to keep you in your home, but we're trying to find that out now. The Kirwan Institute is partnering with us to get in front of you. Along with census collection, we want to know who you are and how we can help you. We want to help you retain that at least one piece that can work in your favor towards gaining wealth, towards gaining stability and sustainability going forward. If you can't keep a stable roof over your head, good luck with trying to accumulate some wealth. Your kids are jumping from school to school, you're jumping from job to job, couch to couch. We got to, first and foremost, keep you in your home if you have one. And that's how we're in a large scale attempting to address some of the ability for somebody to at least have a foot up, a step up, a place to begin to go into the next phase, which would be wealth accumulation, but it's not buying a home. I'm gonna give you that clue right up front. Wealth accumulation does not mean you just bought yourself a home. You bought a debt.
So I just want to add to the panel discussion, and I feel like one of, there we go. I feel like I look at really practical ways to solve issues. I'm a very practical person. I don't like a lot of difficulty in my thought process and the programs that I offer and design. And one thing that we can all do right now to accumulate wealth, large-scale transformation, is everybody go out and get a life insurance policy. Because we're gonna die one day, and that's just keeping it real. So if we all had a life insurance policy, just imagine if you all had, $250,000, $1 million policy for yourself. When you pass away, then you've now accumulated wealth for your loved ones. It's very simple, and it's not expensive at all. We're talking about $35 a month, hollering at David DeBerry and his team and getting it activated, and then it's done. So.
Boom, it's done. That's what I'm talking about. So, I think that,
Can you hear me? Okay, there's this word that keeps me, okay, wealth and money are not the same thing. Passing down money is not passing down wealth. Money and wealth, I just want us to get real clear on that before we leave the room tonight. Having $50,000 a month isn't necessarily even wealth. So we got to get real clear on what wealth is and what it is we want to establish, because if it's just a big income, that's kind of easier to do than a lot of people. Wealth is a whole different thing. And I want us to be real clear about that before we leave here tonight.
Could we actually kind of go deeper then? What is the definition of wealth? What is it?
I'll tell you, let me give you a couple of instances. Wealth has to do with, first of all, liquidity. It has to do with appreciation. If just money in itself, having money, it does not appreciate. If you just sit on top of your money, it does nothing. You have to turn money into another thing that will appreciate and make more money. Everybody in here spent a lot of money. I don't care if you're on assistance, you've spent a whole lot of money. If you took, and this is just talking about young people, and I don't mean to put them down. One of the things I say to my grandson, because he loves to buy gym shoes, and I say, take your gym shoes and put them in your closet for 60 days. Open the door and tell me if you have more gym shoes. No. You want to use that money, instead of buying those gym shoes, to do something with it that's going to make more money, and then after that buy your gym shoes and let the money keep making more money. If you cannot afford to let go of what you have because it can sell at a higher price, you're not liquid, you don't have wealth. Liquidity means you can let that thing go because now it's worth more to somebody else, and you're going to have more on the opposite end. That is wealth, not just a big income. Because if that big income is tied up in car payments and mortgage notes and college tuition payback, you still ain't got nothing. A big income is not wealth.
Definitely, but a big income can get you to wealth faster because somebody making $10,000 a year versus somebody making $500,000 a year can purchase a lot more assets. Luckily, I was able to see wealth firsthand. My grandfather started a business, and we were able to purchase 30 acres of land in Lima, Ohio, that was in '95, which we still have to this day. And I saw that land get farmed out every year, which assets like land and property puts money into your pocket whether you work or not. So I got to see that land get farmed out, and lack of knowledge can also take away your wealth, because I got into finance in 2011, found out my grandmother didn't even have a will on this property. And so luckily she was able to get a will, a trust, and when she passed away, the land just passed on to our family. But I got to see Marathon Corporation come to us because they wanted to expand, and they offered us, I'm not gonna get to the figures, but they offered us for money for a piece of this land. So him having that business provided us a big income to purchase assets now that we use to make money whether we work or not, because we have that asset. So yeah, so definitely people do need to understand, because they said that a African American with a master's degree has less wealth than a Caucasian male with a high school diploma. And that's because we do get the difference between, so I always ask people, like, you spending your money, how many assets did you purchase over the last 5 years? And most of the time, people haven't purchased not one single asset. And that's all I focus on, is if we're gonna spend some money, let's spend it on assets that are gonna put money back into our pocket.
I would also, I think we need to think about net worth. Like, we don't really throw that word around as much as we throw wealth or legacy or these sorts of things around. We need to think about our net worth. I think if we start thinking about that and throwing that term around a little bit more, we'll start factoring in pieces about, you got the larger income, but now you're talking about, and a couple people mentioned debt, but what about inflation? We'll start thinking about these sorts of things a little bit more as well.
I gotta add something too. Positive network, definitely. One thing that I've learned through my experience, there's 4 types of wealth. There's financial wealth, there's time wealth, there's social wealth, and there's influence wealth. So the 2 things that the main thing that I'm really trying to go after is time wealth. I don't have to make so much money. If I have that time, which is probably the most valuable asset that we all have, I can do whatever the hell I want to do in life. So if I'm making, say, $30,000 a year, and I have 9 months out the year, or 3 months out the year off, I can travel, I can work, I have no debt, no bad debt, and I have assets that are building off of that. That's what I want. And I think that's the one thing that we're all talking about. You have to define it for yourself. What is wealth to you? what are you trying to achieve? Is it to have a lot of money? Sometimes you have a lot of money, you got more bills. I don't want a lot of bills. So is it money, freedom, social, or influence? So that's something that we all gotta kind of think about.
And I'm gonna add, this probably ain't even in your field, but we gotta think about our health. I mean, black people we really have to, and I know you guys just did a mental health, and that's huge in our community. And so in finances and talking about wealth is a direct correlation with our health. So we have to think about that as well. I'm gonna just throw that as another.
Okay, so yeah, I just want to just kind of echo a little bit, like, I know we're here to talk about fiscal wealth, right? Like, I know a lot of us got drawn here for fiscal wealth, but we're kind of also starting to get at the, what is wealth really? What is abundance really? Because the wealth that we're striving for is this real Eurocentric based wealth. And our people of abundance and prosperity, even if it doesn't look it, they're happy. Okay, so I just want to put that out there because that's something, especially thinking about the mental health, think about the physical health. So many of us will work ourselves literally to the bone to the day that we die, and yeah, you might have something to pass off to your family, but were you happy? Because that's part of it. So I just want to.
So let's talk a little bit about housing. So with the downturn in the housing market and the rise of foreclosures in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, some say homeownership is not an effective tool to build wealth. I feel like we had a prelude to this question. What are your thoughts?
Is this thing on? Okay, so home ownership. There's a couple ways to go into the purchase of a home. Some are emotional, some are analytical. If you have any emotional inference in your decision at all, you did not just make an investment. Investments are based purely on analysis and the ability to create a profitable return. Many times in our community, we are not able to buy a house so we have to have a roof over our head. And then we buy based on the dynamics of what it is we're attempting to put under that roof. We may already have a child or we have a spouse, but we don't have the ability to buy. We buy first homes, and we get in line for a lot of first-time home buyer programs, but we don't buy starter homes. A starter home allows you the ability to move into a piece of real estate, put little sweat equity into it, and make a large return when you sell it. Then that becomes part of your equity base. Part of the reason that we are able to be taken advantage of when we go to get loans for mortgages is because we ain't bringing nothing to the table. We need down payment assistance. We need closing cost assistance. We got no sweat in the game. The banks give the best deals to those who bring something to the table. So if we're already coming to the table with nothing, they're taking the risk. And I'm not saying that the predatory ways that they go after it, I'm not making excuses for that. I'm just talking in a pure business sense. White person, black person, I don't care who. If you come to the table with no skin in the game, you're going to get a higher rate and worse terms, period, point blank. Your ability to turn your possible asset into an asset just decreased at the closing table because you needed assistance to buy this house. In order for a house to be an asset, you have to be liquid enough that you can get rid of it once you can get the highest price it can sell for. Most of us can't do that. When we get in a house, we got to stay there. Right now, it's what we call a seller's market. It's a very low inventory. You don't have a whole lot of options out there. When a house goes on the market, you have multiple offers going above list. That's really good for the seller. A lot of sellers won't turn around and put their property on the market, though, because they can't go out and meet that rate to buy another house to replace what they're already in, so they're stuck. So our inventory continues to shrink. We have more people that are able to buy, but less people that are able to sell. So sellers will get whatever they want for their house right now, but where are they gonna go once they sell? In order for that piece of real estate to be an asset for that seller that's sitting on this increased value, or would it have been liquid? So they missed the second part of the test. They have no liquidity involved in that piece of real estate. So when a real estate agent tells you you're about to make an investment, be real clear, that's not really what they mean. It is better to pour money into something that you can eventually own, but it may not be the best choice for you. Your ability to acquire wealth may be better in another item other than real estate. If you cannot afford a home that does not need a lot of overhead, a lot of maintenance, when you go in that house, if it has a 15-year-old furnace, a 7-year-old roof, and you cannot replace that roof within a certain amount of time, you can't replace that furnace within a certain amount of time, even if you did have savings to go in and put down a down payment, but now you got nothing to fix a major component, if it breaks down, you may not want to buy a house. Because now you don't have time to save money, now you don't have time to acquire wealth, you're gonna spend the rest of your life trying to get this house to a sellable condition, and what did you do for yourself? I'm not trying to talk anybody out of buying real estate, but what I'm trying to help you understand is you need to know more than I like this neighborhood, I like this zip code, I like this house, I like this carpet, my couch will look good here, all that. None of that is what you need to think about when you get ready to buy a house.
Okay, so I just want to add a little bit to that. I think what we need to look at when we're thinking about housing or assets, we need to look at all of these as tools and resources. Money, houses, investments, assets, they're all tools and resources. And how we look at that tool and that resource, how we utilize it for our own personal situation is going to be very dependent on us. Now, I do a lot of traveling, and I actually just got back from Jamaica a few months ago. And it's something interesting that you said about purchasing starter homes. And one thing that they do in Jamaica, and this is really relevant to just the council and what we're talking about with the diaspora, and individuals in Columbus is all a part of the diaspora. One thing that I learned in Jamaica and I was really impressed about is, number one, they're poor clearly, but they're really smart. They're really, number one, into business ownership, but as it relates to home ownership and wealth creation, they don't even finance their homes. They build, and they build as they go. So we were going through the neighborhoods and we were driving around and we saw what we considered a raggedy home to us. You know, it wasn't these $300,000, $250,000 homes that we're jumping into, only making $30,000 a year, $40,000 a year. They were building their homes as they go. They build it off the sweat equity off their own back so that they don't have to deal with the financing standpoint. So it's a very interesting point. And I think that we can look at other cultures and other ways to look at how we utilize these resources and these assets, but they don't believe in the debt aspect, because home purchase is a debt. And we have to start looking at it as such, unless we are prepared or as we're going into the home purchase and understanding how are we going to utilize this for our financial well-being or our financial system. How is this fitting into your portfolio at this time?
To that point, as well, I deal with a lot of Indian cultures who, again, they're on that same boat. And most of the time, when I'm picking up the phone for them, they're buying these houses cash, so I'm ready to go. And the other thing, though, as well, is their families are coming together. So they're doing something, per month where, they got 5 people in a pot. Everybody's putting in some money. Yep. I think you were mentioning this on your. Yep. Yeah. And so, they're putting money in a pot. Money's going to this person. Next month is to you. Next month is to you. And this is what they're doing. And I really would like to see us kind of come back to some of that. I know that there are some African communities that are already doing this still. But I think it's something we should consider. I think another thing, just to the treasurer's point on, seller's market, these sorts of things. Some of the things I keep running up against on a regular basis is when I'm talking to clients about the investment side of real estate, right? And asking them to consider duplexes. Maybe we can get this property, you can live in one side, you can rent out the other side. Now, that's not for everybody either, because everybody don't need to be a landlord. It is amazing at the responses that I'm getting. Oh, well, I don't want to buy in the hood, or I don't want to, these are the same neighborhoods, though, that we're going to be looking back at, and we're going to be saying, oh, well, they displaced this and, these sorts of things. So I just think we need to pay a little bit more attention.
said y'all want me to talk. Here we are, we're talking. So this next question is, when I read it, I was like, oh, okay now. So here we go. It is often said that if you work hard enough, I'm so sorry, y'all. At a moment. It is often said that if you work hard enough, you're going to succeed. Unfortunately, this assertion doesn't work for everybody. In your opinion, what validity does meritocracy or a talent-based system have in the face of white supremacy?
Right, so that's how I felt when I read that question. Can you reread that?
I sure can. I had to read it a couple times too. It is said that if you work hard enough, you're going to succeed. Unfortunately, this assertion doesn't work for everyone. In your opinion, what validity does a meritocracy or a talent-based system have in the face of white supremacy?
Okay, so, yeah, so that's a heavy one too. And here's how I feel about it. And I got my advocate hat on, my entrepreneur hat on, my just Black American hat on. Okay, so the American dream is a reality for some Americans. I feel like with institutionalized hurdles, walls, barriers, blatant discrimination in these policies that we're still trying to untangle and unravel, I think that that is hilarious. So I do believe that because I have seen it myself, and we have positive examples of Black folk who gained, attained, and maintained their wealth. There are those examples of that, but by and large, we got a lot of different kind of things that we're coming up against that just working your hardest isn't gonna get you past it. When you walk in, you automatically are, Black women still make what, $65, 65 cents on the dollar compared to our white male counterpart. There's some things that, no matter how hard we try, within the system as it exists, there's some things that make that to me personally. I do believe it's achievable. I do, I'm working on myself, right? We all working on our hustle game, trying to get there. But every other day, you see specific instances where they're, I don't know if they're, we're about to go somewhere heavy. I can feel it. No, because like, it depends on the person that you're talking to. It depends on their perspective. It depends on their personal experiences in this system, as it were. It depends on what zip code you were born in. It depends on what city you were born in. That determines your outcome. Somebody born in 43068, Reynoldsburg, thank you, is gonna have a different kind of pathway to somebody born in 43211, London. It's just what it is. And so, like, but that doesn't mean that there aren't ways, but it's a harder way. I
gotta run for office again, I can't.
can't say.
Anyone else? No one else want to take that? I'm telling y'all,
I just have a statement, like, can we just create our own system? Thank you. And begging at the feet of people that don't want us in their system. There's ways where we can buy land and create our own townships. It's not hard to build a township. It's really not. So that's the one thing for me. I'm very radical in that way. Like, I'm not about to beg anyone to be at their table, where I can have my own damn table. So I understand that we're all in the system, but we can create our own ecosystem where we're doing business with each other. And that's why it's important to partner with an organization like she's a part of. So we can build our own. And I'm to this point now, I'm not begging nobody. I'm going to make it happen. And not to sound arrogant, but we can have that mentality. It gets me upset sometimes. Like, it's kind of like you're defeated before you even started. Like, do it. That's it.
Okay, just to keep on that. Yes, we have to build our own Stop. God, until we have one of each, that we have like a black grocery store, a black pharmacist, a black laundromat, a black gas station, as we were just talking about earlier. Until we have one of everything, it's hard to create your own place, right? But it is possible. I say it wasn't. But what I would love for y'all to do, work with us, work with any of us, build it quietly.
Yes.
Everybody doesn't understand our business. Not only will they steal it, but we've seen historically instances where they will burn it to the ground. So I'm not saying it can't be done, I'm not saying be fearful, but I'm saying everybody don't need to know your business.
We have to support what is already in place, though. I think that so many times, especially at these events, workshops, roundtables, people come, we get excited, we're fired up, we leave, we're ready to start. You know, everybody got LLCs popping up. It was 4 of them down the street. You know, we need to really put our money in our mouths together and support what is already in existence. Let's do some due diligence on our research for the black-owned businesses that are already out there. And just support what is already in place.
Just real quick, I wanted to say that a little louder for people in the back. That's just crazy, and I think about this all the time, and I know myself and David, we've had this conversation. When we first started Keys to Black Wealth, for example, and I'll just share a quick little story. We both have our businesses, and we're both in the same industry, if you will. He has a specialty, I have my specialty. But instead of just going and, oh, I'm gonna do this, and cast out one another, it's like we came together on cooperative economics. We said we wanted to bring together our talents, our teams, you get your team, we came and collided to be able to build, you know, this vision that we saw that we have and what we want to do for our community. Cooperative economics is so critical and it's so important. And I think that's something that we got to do for ourselves. We don't have to go anywhere to get that or learn it. We just got to do it. The research and the due diligence, there's so many of the same things. We keep just spending our time doing the same stuff over and over again. Well, they already got that down the street. So how about we go and support them and figure out how we can get at that table and help grow that platform, especially if it's working. But oftentimes in our community, we're at each other's neck. The competition is so crazy out here. And instead of working with one another, we want to tear each other down. And then we want to start pointing fingers. We already know we got those issues out there that we got to battle. The ones that Ms. Avery's talking about. We already know what the historical issues are in our community that we're constantly battling, but we have some internal things that we gotta work on too, and can't nobody check us but us. Like, nobody's gonna come and get us in order. We gotta check ourselves on that.
So I remember when I used to throw parties in college. Anybody ever got let into a party for free just because your friend was throwing the party or you knew who was throwing the party? Well, that's how capitalism works. I mean, yeah, somebody, you graduate from college, do you know somebody who owns a business that can just hire you on and pay you a higher salary? And so the statistics say that 90% of black-owned businesses don't even have one employee, not one. 98% of black female-owned businesses don't have an employee. If you don't have any employees or any contractors working for you, I know you can only make so much money because it's only 24 hours in a day. And you're gonna get burnt out, and then unfortunately, when you pass away, your business is gonna go under, or when you get sick or hurt, your business is gonna go under. And so when I'm talking to people and they say I own a business, I'm like, okay, how many people you got working for you or with you? None. Yeah, you're really self-employed, you don't really own a business. And so I just like to challenge people. We tell kids, you need to go get a job, you need to go get a job. But can you put them in position to get a job? Can you hire them? So we always passing the buck. You need to go get a job, but no, can you hire me? You need to go to school, you need to go to college, but can you put $20,000, $30,000 so I don't have to get into student loan debt? We always tell somebody needs to do something. Somebody needs to do something. No, you need to do something. So we got to start putting it on ourselves. And if we got a business, if you have a business, I challenge you this year to get your business generate enough revenue where you can hire somebody. Then hire somebody else. Then hire somebody else. You wake up and you got 10 people working for you after a few years. It can start small. Every big company was once a small company. Which we gotta get past that. I'm just working for myself. I don't trust anybody. I don't wanna hire anybody. I don't wanna lose this $20,000 that I'm bringing in, but I can't expand because of my time. So sometimes you gotta lose in order to gain. So back to the original point where hard work, talent, you might be more talented than somebody else, but I mean, it's not what you know, kinda it's who you know. And a lot of times they come out of college and they know people, and you don't. So, unfortunately, that's just how it is. You don't know anybody who owns any businesses to hire you on. So I just challenge us to, everybody can't become a business owner, but we got to get that statistics that more than 10% of us can't just, only 10% of us can't just have one employee, no employees. We got to start expanding our businesses so that we can generate more revenue and then give people an opportunity to come in to that business.
I told you this was going to be a fire panel, right? So this question is a question actually that we did not have on a paper, but we had in the conversations I had with some people around in the room. And it's the connection between criminal justice and employment. And oftentimes when you have individuals who have felonies and they want to start their own business, but people are shunning them away from getting the opportunity because they have that felony. How do, for folks in the room who may be in that circumstance, how do you navigate that space so that you can build a thriving business even as a restored citizen?
Bam. First and foremost, I am a restored citizen. I'm a felon, and I'm the Franklin County Sheriff. I'm thinking from pure, straight-up experience. There is no easy path, and nobody's going to create an easy path. But there's also no brick wall that you can't get beyond.
That's right.
If you really want to start a business, the fact that you're a felon, if we're talking about starting a business, that shouldn't get in the way. That has nothing to do with it whatsoever. If you're looking for or seeking employment and you have a felony, that can get in the way. Getting training through the different trade unions, they will take you on and put you through the program, but then the contracts that they have stipulate that they can't hire felons. So now you got training and you can't go to work. When you're incarcerated, even while incarcerated, you have an opportunity to vote. And most people don't even know that. They have to supply you with a ballot while you're incarcerated, or your, what's it called when you vote? Your absentee while you're incarcerated. I need incarcerated people. I need people with family members who have been or are incarcerated to get extremely active in your local elections. It's not the national election that gets all of our attention, that makes the differences in our lives. It's these local elections. You need to look at who your prosecuting attorney is, who your city attorney is, who your judges are. There are quite a few more people with felony convictions than ought to have felony convictions. That's the first place we need to start. We need to stop this foolishness about people being over-penalized for activities that other people get a slap on the hand. That's the number one. Once you already find yourself in that position, just my best advice is don't give up. Don't take no as an answer. Once you have yourself on a path that you know you're doing the right thing for the right reason, don't take no. You figured out how to do it the wrong way, and you didn't back up. You went in there full speed ahead. Do the same thing now that you're on the right track. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. No is not your answer. Do you know how many times I've heard no? Do you know how many times my life has been put on the front page of a newspaper and in a magazine? Just don't stop. Keep pushing. If I can do it, I know anybody in here can do it. I know your family member can do it, your son, your daughter, whoever it is, your significant other. There's opportunity out there, but you have to be willing to fight to get yourself in a position to take advantage of that opportunity. Don't let anybody tell you that what you have been is what you are now.
All right, to continue right? So having a felony, she said, there is simply not a barrier to starting a business. That's not the barrier. My advice would be, know yourself, know the situation you had been in, do your research. There's some classes of felonies and types of felonies where you simply won't be able to pass the security test to do federal cleaning work at a federal building, right? Depending on the building, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't be cleaning other places, right? Like, you get to set, there is more to this. You get to set your path a little bit easier than going looking for a job, looking for housing. Like, there's a lot of, but starting a business isn't it. You can start a business, you can bootstrap, and I hate that word. I will get into that at a different time. But like, you can make it work, and then you can provide a space where you can hire people that you understand the road that they're on. Right? I would love to encourage more of our restored citizens to reach out to people like me, the Small Business Development Center, the Minority Business Assistance Center, the Small Business Administration, people that are offering these resources to start and grow your business. I would encourage you to do that, because there's so many people that are out here struggling to find a job that they're like, what's the ban the box, right? Like, there's a movement to ban the box to ask some of these questions on it, because some of this doesn't disqualify you from being able to complete the job. And so if you go search ban the box, and I don't want to do it a disservice by giving a horrible summary, but go look it up. We all need to kind of support that, because take the question off the employment application. There's some, now within reason, obviously, like if it's going to affect the person's ability to do a job, there's some information that you need to know, but there's a lot that you don't. There's a lot that employers are asking that you should know as a job candidate that's illegal. Do your own research. What can they ask you in these job sessions? What can't they? And also more importantly, as important, what is the average wage of this position in the United States? In Ohio. Go search Department of Labor, search the position you want before you go to the job thing, so you come in there educated. Don't accept something that is less valuable than what the position is being paid systematically. Right? Everything is negotiable. Everything.
So I think we need to start being more proactive instead of reactive. I think our community has that reactive thing. Something happens to us and then we react to it. Proactive, a lot of people get felonies that should not be getting felonies, all simply because they just went into court and pled no contest. Because they don't know what they're pleading to, they don't know what the charges is. I remember working in a courthouse for 10 weeks when I was in college, and I would sit there and look at all those court cases, and some of those people who come in there with attorneys, they knew what they were talking about, their attorney knew what they were talking about, were getting slapped on the wrist with misdemeanors. Some people come into the court by themselves, or some public defender, or just by themselves, like I said, and they just pled no contest and got a felony. And I would literally want to just stand up like, don't do it. Like, don't do it. Like, but I knew I couldn't because I'm working for the courts at that time. And they were just talking to me about the revenue that they were generating in the courthouse every time somebody would get one of those charges and pay that off. I remember the clerks cheering when people would come in and pay their fines and just telling me that they need that revenue because they didn't want to get laid off. And so they were just looking at people as dollar signs. So like I said, we need to start being more proactive. I love Colin Kaepernick when he was doing the Know Your Rights series. We need to have those all around the country, because it's crazy how we have hundreds of thousands of laws that we have to follow and abide by, and I guarantee you probably don't know 20 of them. And then they're changing them every year or every other year, and you're not getting updated on the changes. So you don't even know what the law is, and a lot of times then we're reactive, like, okay, somebody got a felony, now what can we do? How many people can we prevent from even getting that felony in the first place?
And at the same time, I tell people to always hold others accountable. Hold these panelists accountable, hold myself accountable, hold people that you know that you have helped get into office accountable. It's no different than, how David was talking about, folks coming out of college, they know other people that have a business. These folks then are in place for a reason. I think representation is extremely important. And so I am a big accountability person. Hold folks accountable when they are in office. You got Treasurer Brooks, and just hold folks. She said she running, hold folks accountable, for real. And especially, you know, not just because they look like us, but probably even more so because they do look like us. That does not mean that, you know, everybody that looks like you came from the same background as you, understand exactly, you know, what you have experienced, but I think accountability in our community and just in general is huge. And so I would say just add to all of that, just to hold people accountable.
All right, okay. So the next question is another one of those questions that I think has been in the national news for a very, very long time. And currently, I think is really moving the airways, and it's around reparations. And I guess the first question is, what are your thoughts on reparations as a way to tackle the wealth gap? And is it a viable solution for change?
I'll take that. I have no faith, this is gonna sound really good. I have no faith that we're gonna get reparations. However, if it happens, I'll be gladly to accept it. But that goes back to my point where it's hard to depend on the government that has never been here for us. So why wait for that? And however, if they give us that, we're gonna pay for it some type of way. Taxes, the main thing. So inflation, everything's gonna go up if that happens. We're talking billions and trillions of dollars. So for me personally, I'm not waiting for no reparation. And I don't think it's gonna help anything, because if we're gonna pay for it some type of way.
You know, I don't know how realistic that question is at this point, you know. Reparations, obviously, I'm the same way. If they come, I'm gonna take it as well. But, you know, I think, again, we gotta save ourselves. We really have to start being realistic. And then that's a process, that's policy, you know, that's legislation, that's putting people in office, that's time. That's not anything that's going to happen today. It don't seem like it. Not saying that anything's not possible, anything's possible, but I don't see that happening realistically right now today. So when we are in these settings, I think that we should focus on realistic solutions and really just stay in touch on what's really going on. We know who's in office, you know, right now, and we know how that individual feels about people who look like me. So when we're talking about reparations as a way to close the wealth gap, there are so many layers that we have to peel back to be able to talk about what the reality of that really is going to be, and then how are those funds? I mean, it's just a process, you know. It's not going to happen anytime soon. So I think we need to focus on more of the reality of the facts, and that's again local legislation, making sure that we are putting the people in the office that represents our needs and our wants as a community. And oftentimes, I know that we forget about the small elections. We forget about the local elections. We turn out for the big ones, but when it gets to the local ones, we're not really active. I know people who don't even know who their treasurer, you know, or who's running their district, you know, and what district are you in for that fact, you know. So we really got to drill down a couple of layers deep so that we can get really realistic about the wealth gap. And once we start doing that, I think we can make movement. But we have to stay in touch with reality. So that's my thought on reparations right now.
So my feelings about
What do you mean by reparations? Everybody's idea of what reparations is not the same.
Yes, I was actually about to address that. So is everybody just about to get cash dropped in their bank account? We know how tax refund season is. We know how we got them college refunds. You know, when you cash in your 401k and blow that too. So it's kind of like everybody thinking they're about to get a bunch of cash, but then a lot of people spend that cash. Who are you spending it with? Once again, who own the businesses? The money would just go right back to the people who actually have the wealth. So if we are going to get reparations, I want reparations in the form of assets, land, businesses, like things of that nature. Because money is just going to go right back into the people who own the businesses. I even look at athletes when they make all this money, and I'm like, okay, they're going to buy exotic cars. Who owns the car lot? They're going to buy this jewelry. Who's the jeweler? They're going to buy the houses. Who owns the houses? They're getting a sports agent. Who owns the sports agency? They're getting the financial advisors. Who owns that firm? So you got, I don't care like if you got money and you get a bunch of money. I would want to know what's the plan, what we're gonna actually do with the money. So if we do get reparations, I prefer people don't get it in cash. I prefer to get assets. We can put in some type of trust or something like that for people, or give it to black-owned banks now that we can actually get a loan, even if we got a 500 credit score, 600 credit score. Do it in that way, not everybody just get a bunch of cash so we can treat it like we do tax refund season.
I think also, we have to think about, so Michelle Alexander wrote a book, The New Jim Crow, right? She mentioned in that book, stands out to me to this day. Every time that a new racial caste system leaves, something else is coming up. So we just have to be vigilant to the media and what is being said, and get to the underlying language of, you know, is it cash, is it assets, these sorts of things. So I would just stay vigilant to the media and what it's saying and what it's trying to say, but what is the actual language and what's actually happening.
I just want to remind everybody too that we're talking about a federally administered activity, similar to Social Security, which is broke. What goes out is only what comes in. It's not sitting on top of money anymore. So just keep in mind, whatever they tell you that it could be or should be, remember we're talking about the federal government administering this activity. So whatever hopes and dreams we have tied to this needs to be realistically tied to the experience we have had so far in this country of a federally administered program. That's all I gotta say.
And that's that. I'm telling you, people submitted. I think we had 7 questions around reparations. Because I think one of the things why, I would argue because people see no hope. And so maybe part of the conversation maybe is, why do you believe there's no hope in building wealth? And how do we begin to change that? You want to say it again? Oh, want me to say it again? I'm just saying, like, so we were getting a lot of questions around reparations and big items that folks may not have to do a lot of work to get a hand up. And part of that could be, and this is just my perspective, my opinion, it could be that folks don't have hope in figuring out, how do you navigate this process to even start? So how do we build hope in our communities to say that wealth is attainable? Because I think for so long, folks felt that because I came from a family who had nothing, I was sleeping on floors, I dealt with the drug epidemic, my father went to jail, my mom worked 4 jobs, I can go on and on and on. Folks felt like they didn't have hope. So how do we bring hope into this discussion?
So, that's loaded and that's really heavy, especially when you think about our community and what we've been through as a people. And I get the many questions that you received about reparation, because if you really think about it, we already worked for it. So, but when you think about hope, and just my short mini story is, I'm a survived homelessness, poverty, all of the above. Lived in a car floor, all of the above. We did that, myself and my family, and it really generated the hope. Actually, is all we had, and that generated from the family unit system. My mother, she was our beacon of hope. We put our trust in the possibility of tomorrow and the promise of God. Whatever you believe in, but it was something that was within inside. It was something that was built inside, and you have to pull it out. It's real deep. It's real deep inside you. But if you have that little bit of faith, it's not anything you're going to be able to see. It's going to be something that's invisible to you and invisible to us. And we have dealt with so much as a people. And my story is not unique, which is unfortunate. For us as a people, it's not a unique story that I've been homeless before. It's not a unique story that, I have people who's felons in my family, and they've had to work so very hard, and they're still working so very hard to just get a little bit of something. But that hope is something that comes really deep from within inside, and I think that, strategic relationships and partnerships and people in the community, elected officials who's doing their job, and we're seeing those little movements of progress. That's what we have to hold on to. And then when you do have that little bit of hope, you gotta be the one. You have to be the change that you wanna see. And it really just boils down to that. I said it when we started, I say it again, and it's a harsh reality, but no one is coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. We can do it together, so it's not as difficult as just me standing alone. But if I partner with 4 or 5 of you, you know, then it's the process, the journey is gonna be a lot easier. But we have to save ourselves. And I believe that's my opinion. That's the reality of our situation, that it's up to us to pull that out of us and to move forward and to see the change, be the change that we wanna see.
I think we need more success examples. I know growing up in Lima, Ohio, the biggest influencer in the communities was the drug dealers. They had the cars, the houses, they could put the work in your hand. They had the most influence because the kids are looking at their parents and maybe their aunts and uncles like, man, they living paycheck to paycheck. They broke. I don't want that life. I want the cars, the houses, and that type of example. So we need people who, they said the biggest form of influence is role modeling. So we need people that are successful so that kids can look at them and say, hey, I want to be like them. I want to dress like them. I want to act like them. I want what they have. And you can tell them, like, I didn't get that by selling drugs or anything like that. I got that by building up these assets. I remember my niece came up to me like, my mom won't pay for me to go to this summer camp to build a robot. And I was like, how much is the camp? She's like, $1,000. I was like, why are you asking your mom for $1,000 when she already put a roof over your head? You go get the $1,000. So she learned how to make slime, started selling slime. She learned how to braid hair, started braiding hair. I took her into her neighborhood and said, go sell all these candy bars. She got the $1,000. But so many of us just say, no, you can't. It's like, no, I can't afford it. You need to start being like, how can I afford it? How can we get this? So then that's how we start bringing in the hope to our community.
Yeah, and I want to echo that. Like, one thing I was hoping that came up today was mentorship and role modeling. Because we all have, even if you think you don't have much, you are a lot to somebody else, right? And there's somebody who's watching what you're doing and watching your example, and they need that. The only reason I'm sitting here is because both of my parents are advocates and entrepreneurs. Like, and my grandparents were advocates. Like, the only reason that I had the exposure was because I interned at our family company since I was like 4. I call that internship because I was working. That's like, I'm kidding, but it's for real. Because there are a lot of us who don't have that same kind of exposure. And write this down, if you haven't seen it already, go watch The Black Godfather. Yeah, so Clarence Avant is a really fantastic example of how even when there's a lot of challenges, you can be real influential and make a lot of waves and make waves better for a lot of people, and they might not even know you did it. But like, if you're in a position, use I'm not gonna quote who said this, because, yeah. But like, in the seat that you're sitting, like not this literal seat, but in your proverbial seats of power, you have power and you need to use it. We need to open doors for each other, we need to leave them open, and we need to make sure that we're pulling people along like us. Like, and that could be entrepreneurship, that could be in your company. Like, this whole idea that there can only be one of us in a corporation has killed so many dreams. Like, I don't even know. Like, we just need to be better. Like, and so it is about, like, making sure that kids have access, but it's also make sure that we have access. Like, my mentor's 77 years old, and she brings me into stuff that I would never have dreamed of. Like, I've gotten some contract opportunities because she's like, I see something in you, and I'm bringing it to this because also you inspired me. Like, it has to be a two-way street. Like, but we have to, you don't dismiss yourself. Like, that's the best advice I can give all day. Don't dismiss yourself. You got more to offer this whole room, yourself, your family, the community, period.
David mentioned that, you mentioned that we need more success examples. I do beg to differ. I think that we have the examples. I think it's just a matter of our community and what they believe or what we believe success looks like. You know, for me, for me personally, I might not necessarily be looking at the person that has the whatever, you know, the car or whatever the case may be. Because the first thing I'm thinking, honestly, to be honest with you, is, oh, is it paid for? You know, is it paid off? That sort of thing. But I think, you know, beyond that is I personally, and I think we all have a story. Everybody has a story. And I personally, again, going back to the representation is important. I have sought out people that did not look successful, but their health was in order, their family was in order. I mean, they had things that were transferable into wealth, right? And so I just think I would just encourage us and challenge our communities to think beyond materialistic things. Yes, our bank accounts definitely do matter, but you know, if we're just looking at this, well, this, oh, she dresses well all the time, and her car is always clean, and this and that. I mean, she could have a whole bunch of other stuff going on that does not help her get to, or you don't want that to be a mentor. I'm not trying to be funny. You know, you want success to be defined for you. And so I think there are those examples out there. There are those people in the communities. I talk with residents all the time, been sitting in neighborhoods 20, 25 years, 30 years. They tell you everything and run everything down about the neighborhood. Tell you who live across the street, what's going on, you know, these sorts of things. And just to sit at their feet, they're a wealth of knowledge. I think we need to get back to that.
It's going in one direction, but my comment is, I think everybody in this room is a hope shot. There's somebody who's worse off than you are and that they're looking up to you right now. There's somebody literally doing what they do because they believe they're doing what you do and they want to be like you. One of the reasons that I am as transparent as I am is because I have overcome some challenges, and just by telling my story, it encourages people sometimes to let them know that there is somebody who's been where you've been. And so we are each other's hope shot, period, point blank. Ain't nobody coming to save us like I keep hearing repeated tonight. Each one teach one. We've been hearing that for generations. I've been hearing it since I was a little girl, and I'm much older than most people in here. Each one teach one. We are all teach one.
So the rest of the conversation is going to be about solutions. So I think that's where I saw some notepads, some pens, people ready to write stuff down. So what is Black buying power and how do we use it? Do we have it? How can we use it? How do we wield it?
Okay, I got the mic. So, Black buying power is a thing. Just like any quote-unquote space gap buying power is a real thing. It's just about the direction and how it's used and how it's focused, like sunlight through a magnifying glass, right? So we've seen it. There are plenty of stats about how long a dollar stays within the Black community, and that's kind of where I want to go with this question. Because yeah, we spend $1 trillion a year or more. I think it's more than that at this point. $1.3 trillion with other people, or just period, as Black folks. But so many of us are hesitant to direct that spending power back into our own community. And that's troublesome because, like, you can find a Black cell phone provider, Figures Wireless. You can find Black shoe companies. You can find Black clothing companies. Yes, sometimes you have to go make an extra step to do it, but you can do it. We have to make a challenge. We have to challenge ourselves to do it. Like, think about all the money that comes out your pocket every single day. Think about it. How much has been spent with somebody Black? Like, I don't like. And I get like this because this is the life that I live. And I know that there are plenty of viable, valuable, beautiful Black people running companies that are providing solutions to not only us, but to the world at large. Like, I'm sick of having to convince people to spend money with Black folk. Like, I don't understand. We're like spinning against our own best interests. Period. Like, other ethnic groups make a point of spending money with each other and only don't do it if they must. Like, you couldn't find somebody to do that for you, right? Like, but we are like, well, I don't know about that business and I don't know about that restaurant and oh man, so-and-so said they had a bad experience once at that restaurant, no. No, you have bad experiences every single day at Applebee's, but you're not saying nothing about it. Period. Like, and then like, let's not even talk about like value. value, right? Because those type of restaurants with that kind of volume can spend a lot, they spend less money and they charge less money for the food. But a small restaurant, they don't have the same kind of capacity. They're gonna charge you what they should be charging you for the sandwich. And don't be coming to your friends and asking for a discount. Like, just don't do it. Here's what I would suggest, because we don't all do this, but there's a stigma attached to it. There's some people that do. But if you're a business owner, if you're a person, you have something to offer. Before you ask for a discount, maybe, actually, I barter all day. Now, like, so, what you got good? Because I might need it. If I'm already gonna spend money on it, I keep the money. As business owners, you have capital as well. I'm not saying just barter everything. Obviously not, you need money to run your business. But instead of, don't discount the value of the black business because they're black. You didn't go into Staples and ask for a discount, so why are you going to the black office supply company asking for a discount? That's all I'm saying.
So, you know, everything that Avery said, true, just a quick echo. You know, it was so interesting to receive the Facebook inbox from a person and they told me, oh, I went to this company and I paid $4,000 for this service. Financial services is looking for financial counseling. Went to this company and paid $4,000. I went to this company and paid $250 a month for 6 months. So then I gave my prices, which was significantly lower than all of those companies. And the first thing they said, well, what kind of guarantee is you gonna give me? And can I get a discount? So, I mean, at this point in my career, I did a little education, but I just said, you know what, you're probably not the kind of client that I'm looking for at this point in time, because there is one side where we as business owners, we are educating, we're sending out to the resources, but we gotta pay our mortgages too. If you're a business owner, you pay your mortgage off of your back. You butter your own bread, as I like to say. And sometimes we have to hold people accountable, and I think Brittany was talking about this earlier. As consumers and as providers, service providers, we have to hold business owners, not just us, because there's entrepreneurs in the room. We got to push back and hold the consumers accountable too by dropping that education and letting them know. And the same conversations that we're having here right now, it's okay to be able to educate a person and just say, look, this is where we are as a community. This is the trajectory that we're going on. This is the mission that we're aligning with as far as our community members, the business community. Are you in or are you out? And that's really what it's gonna have to boil down to. I think at some point, is putting the accountability back on each other and holding each other accountable and saying, are you in or are you out? Here's the mission. We have to uphold that mission though. We have to hold the bar high and we have to demand that out of each other. So that's just a little bit to add, as far as the accountability piece.
So, some of the questions that were asked were around where can folks go to get services and supports and connectivity to even begin this journey? What are some of the things that you all are doing right now to kind of help tackle this wealth issue?
So I know with our movement, Keys to Black Wealth, we hit in the fourth Tuesday of every month, we have a kind of workshop where we give people the resources and access to people who are doing it in the community. I know next Tuesday we have basically on how to raise capital, how to start businesses, because it's like you coming in and you don't even know. We're in capitalism, we're in a capitalist society, but people don't even know how to raise capital. And so we're, with our movement, we're really just trying to put out the resources for people. So it's going to be next Tuesday at Burger Elm downtown. It's a free workshop. So what we're trying to do is if we're giving advice to people, we're giving out the information free of charge right now. We're giving out the information free of charge for people, for them to get it, but just where to get capital at, how to start a business. A lot of people tell me being a business owner is hard, and that's just because you haven't done it before. You're so used to being, working W-2, being an employee, so you can't expect within 3, 4, 5 months to just know everything about business. So I just like for people to have kind of like that commitment. You know how you commit to college for 4 or 5 years? I see so many people get into business and then after 4 months they get discouraged. 4 weeks they get discouraged, 1 year they get discouraged. I mean, just to even become an attorney, you put in 7 to 8 years. Become a doctor, you put in 7 to 8 years. So we got to give ourselves more time to actually learn the knowledge, seek the knowledge, and you know you're gonna have ups and downs. But we gotta get to the people where you gotta make the sacrifice. What's that saying? Everybody wants to go to heaven, but don't nobody want to die. We talking about everybody. We need these businesses and stuff like that. We need some people like me. I was sleeping on a couch for like a year when I was trying to get my business off the ground. We need some people to sleep on some couches. We need some people to take some losses, eating ramen noodles every single day. Donating plasma twice a week. That sucked. I did it all. I can tell you everything that I did, but I'm past that now. No more ramen noodles, no more plasma. But we need some people to do that, though. We need some people to sacrifice. We need some people to sacrifice and make a commitment. And even if it's, even if it takes you years, it takes you a decade, you got past it. You got past it, and now just people can see you as an example. They can say, if they did it, if she did it, he did it, I can do it too.
What time is that?
The event starts at 6:30. It starts doors open at 6. 6 to 8. 6 to 8. But we do it the 4th Tuesday of every month, and it's a different topic. Last month it was real estate investing, get home ownership, and this one would be about franchising, starting businesses, raising capital.
And that's at Burger M downtown. Burger M.
Burger M, South High Street.
South High Street. Burger M.
Burger, then I am.
Burger I am. And it is a Black-owned franchise.
Three things. One, I would encourage, so this is gonna be a plug, but it needs to be. I would encourage us to get our credit together. We were talking about buying, Black purchasing power, that sort of thing. So one of the biggest barriers that I keep facing when clients come to me that say, I want to buy a house. I don't care how you want to buy a house, if you do want to own it outright, that sort of thing. It's one of the biggest barriers. And real estate gives you leverage. And when you don't have that leverage and those options because your credit is not in order, I would encourage everybody to walk with you. Have those, some issues on your credit, some things you're working with. Please get with Brandy or somebody on her team and actually set something in place to get started on that, because that is leverage. That's some purchasing power right there. Gives you some options for sure. A couple things. Evictions are huge in Central Ohio, here in Franklin County. I'm going to be getting with a couple of people in the next couple of months to do some workshops on that, so we can talk about that as well. And then we're going to be doing an event, and actually a couple of people on this panel will probably be hit up here soon. It's going to be titled Buying Back the Block. So I'm going to have somebody there, and they're going to be talking about development and what that actually looks like in terms of us actually purchasing in our own neighborhoods, not the hood, in our own neighborhoods.
One thing I'm doing, I'm coaching people about the mechanics of financial wellness, which is budgeting and money management. If you don't have the mechanics, you can't grow well. Just because you have money doesn't mean you have to spend it. And that's one thing, and hence the name Frugal Freddy. I always try to get the best deals. Like I said, everything's negotiable with me. So that's a mindset I'm trying to teach to my clients. Everything's negotiable, budget your money, and you can manage your money a lot better if you have that mindset. And one thing that I do and head up is the Debt Free Community 614. So similar kind of concept what David and the team does. We do monthly meetups, the second Sunday of every month, where we just talk about different financial wellness topics. So like budgeting, we play the cash flow game. You guys have played the cash flow game. You guys know what that's all about. We talked about financial planning, budgeting, all the stuff that's related to the mechanics of financial wellness. Stock investing. And one plug, if you're not in the stock market right now, please get in the stock market. You can trade options, you can trade currencies, you can trade avocados. I'm serious. It's big money out here where we're talking about attaining wealth Get in the stock market, be a player in the capitalist system, because it ain't going nowhere, so we might as well be a player in it and just try to leverage it for the betterment of us and our families. Debt-free community, 614, follow us on Instagram. And frugal friend.
For those of you that don't have a mentor, if you don't have a mentor and anybody in your life, you're in the library right now. Before you leave tonight, you can check out a book. You can start your journey, you can do some research. There are trade journals, all sorts of different written material that you can leave with before you leave this building tonight. There's a lot of great programs going on, a lot of great mentors. If you don't have time to sit down in a group, get yourself a book and start educating yourself. Start reading, get familiar with the terms, and just the whole language. And then you can start when you walk out the door tonight.
To echo that point, I'm a big reader, myself and David, so 3 books that's changed my life. The Total Money Makeover, The Millionaire Next Door, and Rich Dad Poor Dad. Those 3 books will change your life. And Cash Flow Quadrants. The Total Money Makeover, The Millionaire Next Door, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And the 4th one, Cash Flow Quadrants. Quadrants. Those 4 books will change your life if you're a big reader. They talk about finances.
All right, say it one more time.
The Total Money Makeover,
Yeah, I can't hear that. Draw it right there.
The Millionaire Next Door, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrants. We're in the library.
Yeah, from our perspective, from the Chamber of Commerce, we try to create space and venues for business connections to happen. And that happens all over town. We have opportunities all over all the time. I have a table out there with some flyers. But on the 2nd Tuesday of August, we will be at Buns and Brews for lunch with COAC. We try to go every other month. We like to go to Black-owned restaurants to not only support them for lunch, because we was going to eat anyways, but then also have a conversation, right? And so it's not a formalized set agenda. It's just come on in, because part of the problem is that we don't see each other like this. We don't get to network. We don't get to, and that is why there is a deficiency of trust, or at least a perception of it. And so show up, right? And so you just heard of a few different opportunities. So show up, like come hang out with us. Most of our stuff is free. Yes, we're a membership organization, but I try to continue to offer venues for us to do this, right? So 2nd Tuesday of August, I don't remember the date, I'm sorry, 11:30, Buns and Brews on Parsons, just show up. Buns and Brews, Parsons Avenue. Buns, like hot dog bun, a hot dog bun. It's a Black-owned restaurant on Parsons. There's a few Black-owned restaurants coming down there on Parsons. It's worth a jaunt, support.
So,
11:30 a.m., August the 13th.
So I'm sorry, just one thing. We'll send out a list of all these resources. How does that sound, y'all? Good?
So one thing that we do, my company is the Financial Power Network, and we do have a table out there. Ms. Tanisha, my business partner, is out there working the table. So stop by a minute. We do financial literacy and financial education. We have a sweet spot in credit education and credit repair. We are a licensed, accredited credit repair company here in Ohio. Thank you. And we also work globally as well. So we do work all across the United States, and then we have some international contracts that we run. And then one thing that we're doing though that's different right now